Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel Grave Visitations here. So today I'm in an old graveyard called CURRAGHKIPPANE in County Cork, and there's a notable grave here today which I will go and show you, and I'll tell you a bit about the person that's buried in the grave there and a couple of other interesting headstones in this old graveyard with that beautiful views you can see behind me. So I just spotted this one here. It's a very unusual looking grave, and it's like it was put together by old pipes and stuff. And it says in loving memory of Kathleen Fleming, who died in 1983, Marilyn Bulger 1984, and it's the Fleming families, and then John Lyons infant died in 1972. And just there it says Michael O'Callaghan died 16th of March 2010. So it's a really unusual looking grave site here. As you can see, kind of looks like it was old pipes that were pushed together to form the shape of a cross. And it's something you don't see every day, and it's really nice. So apparently, guys, this is a plot from the mental hospital or the mental asylum. Bodies were buried here who were not claimed by family or friends, and apparently the mental asylum has been burying bodies here since the 19th century. This is a lovely grave here, and you can see those wind chimes on top. In loving memory of our dear parents Tommy O'Neill, who died in 1984, and Mary O'Neill Healy 2011. And a lovely photograph there, and those lovely wind chimes. So there's a couple of nice graves here and headstones, old as well as new. An old one here, Lyons, erected by Jeremiah Lyons in memory of his daughter Mary, who died on August the 7th, 1900, aged 15 years old. Another beautiful headstone. So you can just see in the background, it's absolutely gorgeous, and I'll try and get down as close as I can to that view, all that hillside and fields in County Cork. Now that's the old church there in CURRAGHKIPPANE, old graveyard. And there's a lot of old graves there, and new, as I was saying. So I'm going to go up the top. Now there's a story in this graveyard that I found out, that in this old graveyard here, the longest funeral in history took place in this graveyard, and also the shortest. And when I say shortest, I mean there's a story going back about the old gatehouse would be around there, and the people that lived in there back in the day, and I'll see if there's anything online, but I doubt if there is. But the story goes that the shortest burial or funeral in history, and it's actually recorded on the Guinness Book of Records. So I was told from a Cork person, a man I was speaking to, that the woman that died, they couldn't fit her coffin out through the door, so her coffin was put out through the window of the old cottage, and she was buried right away just outside the window of the old cottage. Now, I was looking around earlier to see, could I see any sign of a grave or some way of knowing if there somebody was buried outside the old cottage. And the only thing, I suppose, is, you know, I don't even know the woman's name, to be honest, but that's the story I was told. Now, the only thing I see here is this is all waste from the graveyard that people leave in this area here, like, you know, old flowers and wreaths and any rubbish and stuff like that. But just up along here, actually, now this wall here is all part of the cottage that was there. You can see the old cottage. Now the only thing I can see connected to this story is this cross here, but there's no inscription on it, and there's nowhere else in this graveyard I've seen where there was a cross left in an area like this on its own. So it's quite interesting to actually think, is that the woman that's connected to this story that was buried there? Who knows? Very hard to know. It's another beautiful grave here. Our dear dad, Andy Corcoran, who died in 2000. Edwin Corcoran, 2016. Lovely grave with the angels on it there. So I'm going to go down this side and show you some more of these old graves. A loving member of Nora Fitzgerald, her husband John Fitzgerald, their daughter Julie, Mamie Hogan, William and Nora Kenny, and their son Sean. And you can just see the photographs of this. The old black and white photos there. Now this is also a military grave on this. And they're numbered, as you can see, 49, so, and 50 is just beside it. So a lot of these graves are numbered, which I suppose historically would be marked. Private W. Dillon, Royal Munster Fusiliers, 29th of November 1915. And another bit of history on this one here. In loving memory of Edward Burke, the Crimean and Indian Mutiny veteran, died October 1905, aged 67. His sons Stephen, 2nd Leinsters, killed in Belgium in 1915, aged 40. Cornelius, 2nd Royal Irish, killed in France, November 1914, aged 38. And his 3 children, Patrick, Johanna, and E. Burke, GDSMN, Irish Guards, killed in Italy, 1944, age 29. So there's a whole family involved really in the military side of things. Now that grave does look unusual there. You see Edward Burke is written on that. It's like a line. You can see the lines on it there, and it says Leinster. Watch and pray, it says. Now on the other side of this grave then, we have more war information here in memory of Mary Margaret Burke, who died in 1908, aged 29, and her son Edward Burke, Corporal, killed in France, 31st of July 1917, aged 21 years old. So a lot of history there with the military back in the First World War. So you can just see that beautiful view there in front. County Cork today. Beautiful old graveyard. So we're actually on the way back home today. So we're kind of stopping in a couple of places on the way to see anything interesting that we could find. You see a lovely grave here with this eagle on it. Look at that, or falcon maybe, gold colour, and those lovely little lines on it also. Teresa O'Shea, who died February 1992. And you can just see here 482 and 517. All there is these markers with numbers on them. So if anybody knows what that means, please let me know in the comments underneath the video what that could represent, those numbers. Are they people that died in the war who had just numbered graves? I don't know. People that are buried here, it's just absolutely gorgeous, this scenery. And if I can show you through, just through there, you can see where these people are laid to rest. Absolutely gorgeous. And you have that lovely river that flows there as well through the area. Absolutely gorgeous. And a lovely gravesite here. These angels. Beautiful flowers on it. And you can see the angel at the middle of the headstone there and all the photographs of the family. We have a Liverpool crest. We have something there that looks like a mouth organ and a radio down the bottom. In memory of Dennis Madden, a husband and father who died in 1980, aged 42. Mary, a dear wife, mother, grandmother and great-grandmother, died July 2015, aged 82. And their loving son, Michael, who died in 2015, aged only 56 years old. Couple of old chest tombs there with that lovely railing around them. And I've never seen actually a railing that looks like this before. You can just see that part there. Almost like a star kind of look to it. And there's no marker, unfortunately, for that grave. Now, the other story I was telling you about, the shortest funeral in history and the longest funeral in history. Well, the longest funeral in history is a man that's buried here, and we'll be going to see his grave, and I'll tell you a bit about his story. He was involved in an expedition, and he was a well-known man in the history books, and they say his body was put on ice. His body was put on ice so he could be brought back on the long journey back to Ireland to be buried here. So we're going to go up and have a look at his grave now. So I just spotted this headstone here as well, and the inscription just says Robert Simpson, composer, 1921 to 1997. So Robert Wilfred Levick Simpson was an English composer as well as a long-serving BBC producer and broadcaster. He's best known for his orchestral and chamber music and for his writings on the music of Beethoven, Bruckner, Nielsen and Sibelius. He studied composition under Herbert Howells. He died in Tralee in 1997. This is one of Robert's works called Volcano Brass Band BSM in 1979. So just here I found this one also. It says, in loving memory of Eileen Harris, who was born in 1926 and died in 1992. Her husband Paddy, script writer The Swans in brackets. And it says 1921 to 1988, interred in St. Finbarrs. And down the bottom it says, laugh and the world laughs with you. In this area just here I found this plaque just hidden here, and just up the top it says Collegium Universitas Carthagines. Now I'm not sure what that language is, if anybody knows what that means. And there's a cross and there's some other writing underneath it there. Now I don't know, is that Latin or what language that is, but it definitely says about university college, that means there. So maybe this section here could be the people that donated their bodies to science, because all you see here is just little stone markers with numbers and a cross. 17, 18, and it starts over there like 15, 16, 17, 18, and so on. There's a little plaque there, but I won't be able to read that because it's faded away. But just around here you can see just a cross there against the wall.
Now see that iron cross there?
Yeah.
That's also the symbol that's here.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It's actually the same symbol, as you can
But
see.
actually they're on the symbols of the ones up there as well.
That cross. You can see that cross is the same symbol as on the plaque. Now, whether these people that were donated to science, and that was their wish, were they cremated afterwards and their ashes were put along the wall here?
Well, as I said, sometimes they only hold their bodies for, say, 3 years, and then it's up to the family whether the college kind of disposes of them by cremation. But if they want to plot, the family have to pay for that part of it. So it's interesting that some of them are numbers, but some of them do have...
Now the numbers, as you can see, they're still going all the way down along.
And even on this side, we've 132 there, we've 258 behind it.
You can see all those there, and they're all over there along as well.
And even behind it, we've 924.
They're all little markers with just numbers, so everybody has a number. So whether they were donated to science and all the people, it wasn't their wish to maybe have their name inscribed on a headstone or something, that there would be just put there as a number, I suppose, afterwards. You know, I don't know.
Sometimes they kept the bodies indefinitely.
Because there's also a Jewish connection here in this old graveyard as well. And there's an area just over there next door to the graveyard, and it's unfortunately it's locked up. There's a big chain on it, but I'll show you that before I end the video.
It says Jewish cemetery.
It says a Jewish cemetery on it, or some kind of connection to that religion. So we'll see. But I'm going to go up now and show you the grave I was talking to you about, which will be part of the other story of the longest funeral in history, which people tell me is recorded on the Guinness Book of Records. So it's something to look into and see what's it all about. With this man up there, as you can see, that Celtic cross with all that railing around it, is a grave I will be reading now and telling you a bit about his story. So here we have the grave that we're going to have a look at. You can just see some more military ones there. D. McCarthy, Private, Royal Munster Fusiliers, 8th of February 1918. But the grave I want to show you here, which is a well-known grave with all this railing around it here, overlooking that beautiful landscape in the background. And this is the grave. It says, sacred to the memory of Jerome J. Collins, his father, mother and brothers, R.I.P. Jerome was born on the 17th of October 1841 in County Cork, and he died in October 1881. And they say he was aged either 39 or 40 years old, and he died in Russia. So Jerome here was a meteorologist and New York Herald correspondent aboard the USS Jeannette that sailed from San Francisco, California on July the 8th, 1879 on an expedition to the Arctic region in search of the Polar Sea. The ship became trapped and eventually crushed by ice and sank almost 2 years later. The crew, carrying as many supplies as possible and towing 3 smaller craft, struck out through the ice fields searching for open water and a route to northern Siberia and eventual rescue. In September of 1881, the crew finally reached open water and Collins boarded one of the cutters along with 13 other crew members that included LCDR George W. DeLong, Jeannette's captain. The cutter finally reached the Lena River Delta, but became separated from the other two boats. Sometime in October in 1881, all but two of this party perished from the bitter cold and lack of nourishment. Their remains were later discovered by George Melville, the chief engineer of the Jeannette, who, along with 11 crew members, had made contact with the native peoples and were rescued. Collins, DeLong, and the rest of their party were initially buried near where they had fallen, but were later removed and returned to New York. So that's the story of Jerome J. Collins, which is a very interesting story. An Arctic explorer who's buried here in County Cork in this old graveyard with that beautiful scenery. So this is part of the story I was telling you about, the shortest funeral in history and the longest funeral in history. So Jerome J. Collins here would have had his body, I was told, on ice to preserve his body until he was brought home to County Cork all the way from Russia to be buried here in his native home. So that's the interesting story of Mr. Jerome Collins and his beautiful gravesite here in County Cork. So I just found this cross was once a cross, and the middle part is missing here, unfortunately, up against the wall. But it says on it there, in loving memory of Bartholomew Murphy, who was drowned on May the 20th, 1900, aged 5 years old. And that's so sad to see. Just a piece of wood up against the wall there with a plaque on it, and the other part of that is actually broken away. Only 5 years of age, Bartholomew drowned in 1900. Now I've spotted a beautiful headstone here, and I just have to show you this. And it's very warm here today. Very warm up in this hillside. The weather's really hot today. So look at this beautiful one here. You have like maybe Mother Mary and a little child, and the child looks like it's holding a little bird in his hand, and it says, in your charity remember to pray for the soul of Mary Catherine, dear and devoted wife of John Joseph Horgan, born in 1887, and died on the 10th of November 1920. And then you have this old one here, and it says John Dominic O'Connell, 17th of November 1942 to the 17th of March, which would be St. Patrick's Day here in Ireland, 1998. But isn't that just a beautiful sculpture on that headstone? And I think that was the original part of the old headstone, and they kind of added this part of the headstone here underneath it, which really looks nice, and they've made a very good job of this. So just before I finish up, I wanted to show you a couple of these old ones here also. I have a woman there like she's praying, and that beautiful Simon Punch, looks like punch in loving memory of his mother, Julia. A really nice grave. And just up above that, we have this gorgeous angel here. You know I love these angel ones. And there's another beautiful one just there. Look at that. And this is Millicent Mitchell. Now that's unusual, Millicent. I've never heard of that name. Who died the 10th of October 1923, aged 4 years and 8 months. Margaret Mitchell died the 23rd of July 1933, aged only 3 weeks old. And down the bottom it says their brother Finbar Mitchell, stillborn, in brackets, and their grandnephew Patrick Quill Manley, stillborn 2005. Isn't that beautiful? And very sad that all these young people buried here, 4 years, 8 months, 3 weeks old, and stillborn babies buried here in this plot also. Now there's another interesting grave here. Cherished memories, it says here. George Long, 1909 to 1991. His wife Mary, 1915 to 1981. And you can just see at the top of the gravesite, there's this old part of a tree here. And just on top of the tree you have a little dog somebody left with a bone between his paws. Isn't that beautiful? On the old tree. So they actually made the tree look like it was part of the grave, which is very fitting. And we have this beautiful one here, loving memory of Catherine O'Mahony, who died 1st of February 1913, and we have the old stone crucifixion scene here of Jesus with all that orange lichen that's covering that. Absolutely gorgeous. Now I just noticed there's like a big gate here that leads down this road, and where that goes I'm not sure. It looks like there's a kind of a more modern looking building down there, and you can just see that it's all locked up there. But there's a plaque on the wall outside the gate, and it says Cork Hebrew Congregation, CURRAGHKIPPANE Cemetery, redeveloped October 2006. And unfortunately that's locked up, and I would have loved to have went in there just to see what that was all about, that area down there. And I can actually see from here there is headstones down there in that area, so it looks like to me it's a section for Hebrew people who are buried there in the graves. So guys, from me, grave visitations here in this old beautiful graveyard here in County Cork. I'm going to wrap the video up there, and thanks for watching the video. If you like the video, please hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and give the video a thumbs up also. So until the next time I will see you, take care. God bless everyone.